Hello and welcome to the Evolve Pipedrive podcast, where we talk all things Pipedrive, sales, apps, and Pipedrive marketplace. My name is Bruce Bignell. I'm the sales director here at Evolve, and today I'm pleasantly joined by Kristyna Cardova, the partnerships director at Cloudtalk. Cloudtalk is a calling software for scaling businesses that natively integrates with Pipedrive. I'm really excited to be talking with Kristyna today for a couple of reasons. One, because Kristyna is an ex-Pipedrive employee who was at Pipedrive during the 2020 majority investment from Vista Equity Partners, which turned them into a unicorn. And two, because Kristyna is one of those fascinating individuals that has a real-world superpower. As a polyglot, she can speak 8+ languages. Now, I don't know about you, but I love traveling with people that can speak the other language. For me, it's a real-world superpower. Plus, Cloudtalk is on the Pipedrive marketplace, ready for you to try out, and the link's in the description below. So, Kristyna, welcome. Please can you introduce yourself and Cloudtalk to our audience.
Hi, Bruce, and thank you for this lovely intro. So yes, as you touched upon that, actually, I have a linguistic background, but it's been more than 10 years that I've been in the digital industry, and in the last 5 years, specifically in the SaaS, focusing on what I believe the most in, and that is the philosophy of human to human, and everything that is around business is just coming down to dealing with people and dealing with humans and offering value to them. So that's also the way that I pick companies that I work with, based on the values and based on the value that these tools can offer to the end customers.
Yeah, and cool. That's quite interesting. You said that because calling is so certainly from a software or a SaaS standpoint, we not that we get confused or muddled, but we look for the automations, the new thing. Typically, most marketing activity, certainly in the B2B space, you have to speak to your prospect, you have to speak to your customer. So the calling app is at the heart of that. No matter how complex your drip email campaigns are and your social touch points, you want to be talking with your clients and your customers and your prospects. So that makes sense with why you've joined Cloudtalk there. So obviously, a lot of our listeners are already on Pipedrive, which you know very well, and or they're considering the switch. But what does the Cloudtalk company look like? What is it? Is it really product focused? Is there a big kind of sales and marketing department? What does the current team look like at Cloudtalk?
So Cloudtalk is a company of more than 300 people right now. So we're still smaller than Pipedrive, but growing very fast. We're also a company that is younger than Pipedrive. So we were born in 2018. And we started as a very simple click-to-call solution on the Slovak market, because we're a company coming from Europe, specifically Slovakia. So basically, the way that Cloudtalk was born was from this very easy click to call solution. And then the co-founders, Victor and Martin, thought that they actually can go way larger than that, and focused on the needs on the local market. So there is like no copying of anything that was already done on the market, even though the calling solution is something that already exists, but they just took it from scratch based on the needs. And then the tech stack behind then is really done their way. So we focused on maybe different things than our competitors might focus on to start, and we took the different paths in certain aspects. And well, the result is a modern call solution that shares, in a certain sense, the philosophy that Pipedrive and also many different SaaS tools today share, which is we should focus on what we do best. We should focus on the if we're in the selling industry, we should focus on the art of selling and not on the admin work, not on what the technology should automate for us, because we can very easily we can get lost in so many tools that we're using, so many processes. It all becomes overwhelming when we want to get modernized and digitalize all the human contact that we always knew in history. So either we're losing the human touch or we're getting lost in all the technology.
It's a really good point. A lot of I would say 99% of my conversations with clients that come on board with us during either the early stages or when they become a fully fledged customer, I say let's not be led by the tech here. Like, what do you need? But as a business, if you were doing this paper like with pen and paper, what are the steps and stages that you need to go through, and then we can find the right tech to overlay and speed things up. But yeah, try not to be led by the tech. Otherwise, you get tied in knots with automations and misfiring emails or whatever it might be. But yeah, so that's a nice way to put it. I mean, what if you said there that the founders wanted to focus on something different? So what does make Cloud Talk different? Like what are some of the philosophies that as a platform that you guys are kind of pursuing that you would say are key differentiators?
So, well, the philosophy is making simpler the life of salespeople and support people, or basically all those people that spend most of their time on the phone. But what is different in the approach, in the technological approach that we took from the telecommunications perspective, we don't solely rely on one like third party that would provide us telecom services, but we decided to make and establish local relationships with operators. We even are registered operators in certain a registered operator in certain countries, and in many countries we have a variety of operators, which allows us to have always the best call quality that there can be. Because even though you have all those automated features and everything, and we'll definitely get back to them, if you don't have a good call quality, which is really the basics, if you're just calling with your customer and the call falls down, or you have jitter and you don't hear the person clearly, you have lags and so on. You just it just doesn't come through. So thanks to the fact that we're really managing individually the relationships with operators, we can always guarantee that if the call quality at that very moment is not very good with one operator, we can just switch it to the other one to always guarantee that you're on top all the time.
Yeah, I mean that's huge for any sales team that's on the road, right? Certainly if they're using the Pipedrive mobile app or the Cloudtalk app and they're calling from there. We speak to a lot of. I spoke to quite recently some companies that are their sales team are 99% on the road, so that they need the call quality and yeah, I mean that's number one for them, not just being desk based. So that's number one. I mean, from your side at CloudTalk, what would you say the typical customer looks like? I think you touched upon the kind of maybe this was offline, but the size of the companies that you look to target, and what would you consider is your ICP, ideal customer profile?
Any customer that spends a lot of time on the phone, and where there are rather bigger groups of salespeople or support agents can benefit from Cloud Talk. On the other hand, where we really feel that we provide the most value, and where our customers can really use all of our features and all that we provide, is in customer size between 50 to 500 agents. So typically companies between 100 and 1,000 employees.
Yeah. And are there any specific regions that the Cloud Talk really focuses on or excels in?
So as I mentioned, we're a European company, so we're very strong on the European market. We're pretty strong on the US market as well. And then we can see a lot of growing potential in LATAM and in Asia. Although in Asia, there are certain legal restrictions regarding the VoIP solutions.
Okay.
So it is like different case by case depending on the specific countries. But that's also actually one of the advantages of Cloudtalk, that we have a huge numbers coverage. So we have the possibility to buy numbers from 160 countries, and we allow for this great call quality in those countries. Depending on really your needs, you can be pretty creative in what you do with Cloudtalk. You just need to have the good setup and a good salesperson, also either from Cloudtalk or a partner, for example, that would kind of help you with the initial setup and understand what your needs are, where you're calling, from where to whom, to which countries, what are your needs, what are the volumes that you're going to be calling, what kind of numbers you're needing. Maybe you need some toll-free numbers, maybe you need the SMS functionality, and so on. And so each of these bits and pieces are individually then managed, and that's why we can get to really something that is tailored to each customer's needs.
And what would the so each customer? So what would the ideal customer or the typical customer that comes to you, like who are most successful? So we know the kind of sizes, but is that who's making the decision there? Is that coming from the salesperson saying, "Hey, I just want a better calling option," or is that coming from the services team? So where do you typically find that first kind of touch point comes? Yeah, who's first reaching out to Cloudtalk? Is it from the sales guys or is it from the service team? What do you find there?
So we really have two different targets, and that are equally important: the salespeople and the support people. Obviously, the needs are different. If you're a salesperson, you're heavy on outbound calls. If you're coming from the support world, then you mainly have inbound calls, and your needs would be very different. If you're, for example, working on the support side and you have a lot of incoming calls, you might need to automate what happens when the customer is in the queue. While if you're doing outbound, you have very different needs. So we are focused on really both of these targets equally. And typically, who would be the buyer, the main buyer that we talk with? That would be the managers or the operations teams that are handling the different software for companies.
That makes complete sense. It's quite interesting that you said that you've got two very distinguished or differentiated targets, but they use the software so different, right? So, but then they could also there might be upsells. So if you sold to a sales department, if they've got a service department, then that could work across there.
Absolutely, yeah. Then you have also the marketing, like as a Pipedrive specialist, that you can be pretty creative in how you use Pipedrive. HR teams can use it, or you can use it as a ticketing system, and so on. And with Cloudtalk, typically we have very similar targets as well. So if you're a marketer and you want to do a telemarketing campaign, as well, you can connect Cloudtalk with some marketing automation tools, and with your CRM, and all this combo would make a really successful tool bundle for you.
There are some quite cool features in the platform where, like the mold, was it with all the numbers that are on screen, you can kind of power dial through those. I mean, can you explain that a little bit more? How that works and saves time?
Yeah, the sales side. So, for example, if you're on the SDR side, so you're looking for new deals, what you need is to very quickly call a whole list of potential prospects, and you might have different sources of those lists. You might acquire certain lists. You might go just online and look up for your potential prospects. And then what would you do without a calling solution? You would just grab your phone and dial one by one, lose a huge amount of time. Or you would need to pick who you would call next. And if you need to call back somebody that was not available the first time, you just need to take note of that again. If you use a CRM, then obviously you get rid of some of this. But what you can do with CloudTalk is to preset um, scenarios already of what is going to happen in your calling campaign. So you can just very quickly grab all the numbers that you can see on your screen and start calling them one by one without dialing anything. And everything gets tracked then in your CRM. So you keep perfect track of all the conversations. You can go back to a recording of your conversation with your customer. You can assign different tags to those customers and so on. And then once you have finished your call, finished your notes, automatically it can call the next one, the following. So you have no dialing to do. And we have different types of dialers depending on how complex you want to get in that. Either you can just call with one Chrome extension, everything that you can see on the screen. So from the list of your contacts, you can just call them all, or you can set a campaign with different conditions, offering other possibilities, including SMS and different scenarios, basically, that you can automate.
Nice. Yeah, it's very cool. And we've done a demo, so we'll have that in the description below for you to check out as well. So, I mean, so that's all cool. Some of those different kind of power use cases. But what does the roadmap for CloudTalk look like? Is it more integrations? Is it more partnerships? Also, you're in developing out your team, and below that. So just paint a picture for me what that looks like.
We're right now focusing also on having a better UX and UI
Mhm.
on the dashboard and in all the applications. So to make sure that everything is as smooth and as pretty as it can be. And obviously, we are keeping our API open so that we can very quickly build on our functionalities thanks to third-party integrations. So we're investing into the ecosystem as well, into the channel partnerships that I'm representing here as well. Yeah, there are a lot of things that are going on.
Cool. I mean, so you mentioned there about the different integrations. So just exactly how does CloudTalk integrate with Pipedrive?
CloudTalk integrates with Pipedrive pretty seamlessly, I would say, even though it's not a native integration, but that's a philosophy that Pipedrive has.
Mhm.
So we're not integrating directly within Pipedrive. You don't see everything in just one single window. You have the dialer apart. But that would be the case for all the call solutions, and you can basically track everything that is happening in your calling solution into your CRM. So if you're on the agent side, you don't really need to switch windows at any point. You can do everything directly from your Pipedrive, see all the information about your customer on just your customer view, and see, like, track everything that has happened through calls. If everything is automated through the different campaigns and a call flow designer, for example, then you really just need to do the call literally and then check the information in your Pipedrive, but you don't really need to take care of anything else. If you're on the management side, then what you want to do is, or what you want to have really is separate vision of
Mm.
the, like, all over sales activity that you can see on Pipedrive, and as everything that is happening in CloudTalk is getting tracked as activities in Pipedrive, you would see all the reports of activities. But if you want to go deeper into that and see, for example, your call statistics, how long the calls were, and go really into details, then you would use the CloudTalk dashboard. So we don't integrate on that part on purpose, because otherwise, from the just purely sales perspective, you would have a clustered view.
Yeah.
So that's why we keep it separate, and we just make a bridge where it really is necessary for those sales managers to check.
Yeah, and it's also, the current limitations of the Pipedrive's insights dashboard. It's activities or deals, um,
Absolutely.
that will be changing soon. I've been made pleasantly aware, but yeah, but that makes sense to have more detailed analytics in the Cloudtalk dashboard itself. So yeah, we'll be sure to have the links for the demo below, and you can also try it out for 14 days in the links and description below as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, can you tell me a little bit more about your journey from obviously linguistics world to SaaS, and now from Pipedrive to then to Cloudtalk? I mean, how did you end up? Because it feels like you've landed and you really like the kind of partnerships space. I think your last three roles have been in that, and obviously you've always excelled in that space. So, what is it you love about the partnerships? What kind of draws you to that side of SaaS? And yeah, and how did you end up at Cloudtalk?
hmm So, coming from the linguistic background, I did an internship in Paris, and that's where I stayed for 10 years. And from there, I moved in France as well, but still stayed in that international environment, let's
Yeah.
say, and I started working in a startup that was an online marketplace for healthcare products, and I started on sales positions. Doing cold calling. This was really the first mission that I was given as somebody that had zero experience with sales, and
Isn't it always funny they put people with no experience in front at the first line of very little training. The people with the least experience have some of the most important role. It's the reach out. I always find that quite funny. Anyway, sorry.
It went well, actually, surprisingly for me back then, because I didn't have the confidence coming from really a very different background. But my first manager back then basically told me, "So you have this list of prospects, and by the end of the day, we're expecting, or you need to do 10 appointments."
Mm,
And so he just told me, like, what is the outcome, and for me, that had no clue about the sales world.
yeah.
I was like, okay, so this is the assignment, this is what I need to do, so I just did it.
Nice.
Because I thought that's what I was asked to do,
Yeah.
and I didn't even hesitate about, like, maybe I would not, not make it. So that's how the sales part started.
Hmm.
And then I kind of uh, as it goes in startup world, started working at different positions, like in
You wear
support.
different hats. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had really the 360 vision of the different roles in a company, and then ended up dealing with partners. So in that specific setup, it were the partners were taking care of the logistics of the company, not really of the sales. So it was a
Hmm.
different setup than what I was focusing on later on. But I really liked the fact that in a partnership, it's a both way relationship, and your objective is to do a win-win.
Mm.
It's not something where you would be just a solo player and you want to get some like, you want to enrich yourself in a way, but it's something that needs to work on long term, and I think that I'm good in building long term relationships based on values. So that's how I ended up in partnerships back then. Then I moved to Portugal, where I went to a job fair within the first 2 weeks that I moved there. And I just suddenly saw Pipedrive, and I was using Pipedrive in the previous company on the
Nice.
marketplace. I was
Yeah.
a customer, and I just went there and say, "Hey guys, you're Pipedrive, and this is awesome. I didn't even know that you were in Portugal. That's
So
great. You're
would
great."
that have been the first year that they had the office in Portugal?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. So in the first year, So I basically just went there because I wanted to compliment them on how awesome their product was.
Yeah.
And I said at the end of the conversation, like, by the way, wouldn't you be looking for a partnerships profile or something? And the HR that was there was like, hey, we've been looking for somebody for partnerships for 6 months. So that's how the recruitment started. And then I joined Pipedrive.
Nice. Yeah, and that would have been a hell of a journey. And then how did that then morph into Cloudtalk?
That was after all this COVID situation and so on. And what I really loved about Pipedrive, not only the product, but also the vibe of the office and
Mm.
all the people in there. And with the COVID shutdown, everything was poof, just wasn't there because I was isolated as everybody was right back
Yeah.
then. And some other changes basically that made me want to try something else.
Hmm.
And I got a job offer from Cloudtalk, and I had no idea who Cloudtalk was. But when I saw that they were on the Pipedrive marketplace, I was like, okay, if they're on the Pipedrive marketplace, they're worth looking into because that
Yeah.
sounds they're like Pipedrive selects
Yeah.
who they work with, right? So if they got to the marketplace, I want to know more about them. And then I discovered a wonderful business culture, and also a possibility to go back to the roots in a way because they're a
Mm.
Slovak company. I'm from Czech Republic, so
Yeah.
the culture is very similar and at the same time very different to what I was used to in France and Portugal.
Yeah.
Um, so it was an exciting opportunity for me to evolve in partnerships in the SaaS industry and in a product that I believe in and that is still close to other products that I believe in.
Yeah, no, I love it, and I love the journey as well. I think there's certainly certainly a series in how people get into sales and SaaS, and certainly a podcast series out there to be made. Um, but yeah, so thank you for that, Kristyna. In terms of, so this is kind of coming towards the end of the conversation now. So some quick fire questions, but you can take as long as you like to answer them. So what's been your favorite use case from Cloudtalk that you've seen? Yeah, your favorite Cloudtalk use case, whether that's from sales or customer success. Like, what's been your favorite use case there?
So Pipedrive is more focused on salespeople, right? So
Mhm.
the sales scenario obviously are the privileged ones here, but the typical use case that is the most one of the most used is very simple case, but it can really change the relationship that you have and give you the edge. Combining the calls with the SMS features,
Mm.
so when you call a customer, the customer is not there, is not replying, you automatically send them an SMS. Everything gets logged into
Yeah.
your account, and you can very easily use also whatever is in that notes to create an automation from Pipedrive. So it really gives you endless possibilities. So this would be one of the typical scenarios. Then one of the privileged features as well is the speech to text. So you can convert all of your conversation into text, and again have it all stored in Pipedrive. What this and other features in CloudTalk also offer is for the salespeople to grow and learn on how they can make their sales pitch better or all the conversations with customers, how they can improve. So we have this wonderful feature as well that is the call whispering, where your manager can be at or hear the call live, and you can call for help, and they can whisper you the answer without the customer hearing
Yeah.
what the answer is. So these features for salespeople are really appreciated and
Yeah.
really
Yeah. So if you're stuck, you can raise your hand. Essentially,
yes.
even in a remote environment, you can still get you can call over your sales manager to kind of help you out. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So from a top tips for those just getting started using a phone solution and or Cloudtalk, if I can get your top tips for those getting started, and for those that are looking to excel. So you've kind of touched upon a few of them. Maybe it might be the workflows, integrating SMSs. But if you can have kind of top tips for those getting started, and then for those that want to excel in their role.
For those that are getting started, focus on the correct setup. And focus on how you want to translate things into Pipedrive, how you want them to appear. What I would advise is to have a different predefined activities depending on the type of call or the status of the call. So, for example, inbound would have one call activity, outbound another one, a missed call. Or a successful call would have different activity types so that you can follow them and check the reporting separately for those activity types.
Yeah.
So that is something to look into at the very beginning for those that start with this. And then for those that are already seasoned salespeople, use the workflow automation in both tools as much as possible. There are so many possibilities that you have to automate the different actions and to make sure that you not only don't miss any deal like in Pipedrive, but that you don't miss any call and don't miss any opportunity, and the customer has the best experience possible.
Yeah, I like that. And just as a rule of thumb, when it comes to automations, try not to automate anything you wouldn't do manually in the first place. So if you find yourself doing the same thing over and over again, that might be where you can start with some of your automations. This is quite an unusual ask because there's not too many of our guests that have been previous Pipedrive employees. I think we've had one or two others. But we like to ask for Pipedrive feature requests. So are there any feature requests of Pipedrive that you would like to see rolled out?
So we're in very tight relationship with Pipedrive. So currently we don't have actually any feature request that would be that we would have. The integration itself also is running very smoothly. So we don't really have a request on how to improve it at the moment. We have some exciting things that are going to happen in the future as well regarding, for example, WhatsApp integration and how again this combo can work together. But for Pipedrive, I wouldn't have a feature request. I would just have a general request: stay as great as you are. don't don't ever change on the quality of the product. That would be a request.
Nice feedback. Yeah, and it's nice feedback. And as we're recording this in September of 2022, Pipedrive have actually just done a UX redesign. Maybe 4 days ago, I think they went live. And it still looks clean, easy to use, and that's why we love using it. Great. So, is there anything in particular you'd like to cover before we sign off today?
No, I think that we have covered pretty much anything, but what I would maybe like to add, as I'm working with the partners.
Hey.
Sorry, that was an incoming call through the.
As long as it's logged in the CRM, we're going to keep that in. We're going to keep that.
Yes. Okay, I'm really sorry for that. Okay, so regarding what I would like to add here, if you need any assistance in setting up your Cloudtalk, obviously we have direct sales teams that can help you out. We have an excellent support team as well, and then we have partners that can help you go beyond that and also help you with some other tools and how they should all link together.
Perfect. Yeah, that's really key. And obviously, if you want to get your own, so we'll have links in the description below to the team that they're at Cloudtalk. In the description below, we'll have a demo link and a 14-day free trial for you to give it a go yourself. But Kristyna, thanks so much. And I know in terms of time-wise, you're getting a phone call because we've overrun a little bit, but I do appreciate your time. But that's it for this week. You've been listening to the Evolve Pipedrive podcast, where we talk all things Pipedrive, sales, apps, and the Pipedrive marketplace. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bruce. It was a pleasure to be here.